This book changed my life, and today it's about to change yours. If you give it the chance. Watch this video, you guys. You aren't going to regret it. When I read the book, I made some notes, and today I'm going to share all of these notes with you. I can't take credit for them. The book I'm talking about is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Stephen Covey gets credit for everything I'm about to share with you. I hope he's not mad that I'm like spilling the beans on what his book is all about, but I really think there's something to it, to what he says in the book, and I just want to share it with as many people as I can because it did change my life and I wanted to change yours too. So stick with me. Trust that you clicked on this video for a reason, that maybe something that I have to say, channeled through Stephen Covey, is meant for you to hear and just may change your life. The habits start with who we are, moves into what we do, and then moves into interacting with other people and with the world at large. So it's good stuff. Let's get into it. The first habit has to do with developing a character ethic in contrast to personality ethic. Personality ethic developed shortly after World War I with the explosion of media. Success became a function of personality and image. Success came manipulatively and deceptively, using techniques to get people to like them, rather than being a genuinely good human. Quick fix attitudes like positivity, power strategies, and communication skills took preference, took priority, took over having a solid character. Character ethic, on the other hand, has everything to do with integrity, humility, fidelity, temperance, courage, patience, justice, industry, simplicity, and modesty. There is more shared about those here for you, but I'm not going to read all that out to you. I am going to move on. If something about that calls to you, look further into it. Perhaps consider buying his book. The second habit is my main jam, proactivity. Stephen Covey begins the chapter by sharing a quote by Albert Einstein. The significant problems we face cannot be solved at the same level of thinking we were at when we created them. So, rather than being largely reactive like the rest of the world, we are proactive. We are free. The first lesson talked about in this habit is the inside-out approach to life. Start with yourself. For example, if you want a happy relationship, be the kind of person in a relationship who generates positive energy and sidesteps negative energy rather than empowering it. In contrast, outside-in approach creates victims who focus on the negative people and situations that are responsible for their bad life, bad feelings. The next lesson under the umbrella of proactivity is what determines our behavior if it's not us being proactive in determining our own behavior. One school of thought is genetic determinism. So you react because that's how you were made to react. Genetically, you inherited this reaction. There's psychic determinism. So your parents told you how to react. There's environmental determinism. Your job, your spouse, your community, they determine how you react. And then there's proactivity, where you have the freedom to choose. Self-awareness, imagination, independent will, all of that good stuff. Proactivity. When living a proactive life, it is your responsibility to act or else be acted on. Take initiative. Take the reins in your life. Determine where you're going and get there. The last lesson under the proactive habit umbrella is focus on your circle of influence rather than your circle of concern. And I'm about to draw you a little diagram to demonstrate this point. Okay, this is you. This is your circle of concern. You're concerned about the world being destroyed by us tearing down the rainforest. Closer to home, you may be concerned about how your family is doing, but You should not focus on your circle of concern. You should focus on your circle of influence. You don't necessarily have control over how your family is doing. If they have proved to you through their actions that you trying to help them doesn't actually help them, they are in your circle of concern, not your circle of influence. You don't have influence over them. Keep your focus on your circle of influence. Can you influence giving Kitty a really good life? Heck yeah, you can. Can you influence you doing well in school and in your job and being a happy person so that your boss likes you and then gives you a promotion and then you make more money and then you can move to a really nice house on a lakefront with big windows and lots of plants? Heck yeah, that's in your circle of influence. All of these lessons can be applied to these later habits, so stick with me, okay? There's good things coming. The next habit Stephen talks about, we're on a first name basis, except he doesn't know who I am. The next habit is begin with the end in mind. The literal end. The chapter starts out with you walking into a funeral, seeing everyone, hearing them say really good things about the person who died, and good things about how that person made them feel, and good ways in which they helped the world and like made themselves into the person that they really wanted to become. And then you look into the casket and that person is you. So at the end of the day, at the end of all of your days, how do you want to be remembered? What do you want to have accomplished? How do you want to have made people feel? Who do you want there? Begin with the end in mind. There's a difference between being efficient versus being effective. You can be efficient all day long and still get somewhere totally different than where you were trying to go. You won't be effective until you know where you're trying to go, unless you're acting every day, keeping the end in mind. This chapter also explains becoming a principle-centered person. So he has 4 things here that I took notes on: security, guidance, wisdom, and power. And then after this, which concludes pretty much who we are, we move into what we do and relating to other people and what our principles are concerning our relationships. Number 1 principle being having a strong relationship. So you always want to keep that in mind. That's the end goal for your relationships. But for ourselves, we want security and power, right? So what does that mean? Security comes through unchanging principles that are self-validating through experience. They enable an unfailing core that sees change as adventure and opportunity to make a significant contribution to the world. My favorite part of that is that our principles are self-validating through experience. So if you let love lead the way, that will validate other people responding well to you and relationships building and you feeling good about yourself. You know, it validates itself. Guidance is by an inner compass that sees where we want to go and how to get there. Decisions are not guided by everything happening around us right now, but rather by consideration of our short and long-term goals. Proactive always. Wisdom. You act proactively rather than the largely reactive world. You make judgments based on long-term consequences. You are quietly assured. You seek to serve and build others. And, very importantly, you interpret life as a learning opportunity and a chance to play and be attacked. The last principle we want to center our lives around, it really comes as a consequence of being principle-centered in all these other ways, is power. You become a self-aware, knowledgeable, and proactive individual, unrestricted by others' attitudes and actions. Your actions are interdependent, and you experience a special kind of freedom. He's mad at me because I'm paying attention to you and not to him. What I just remembered is that there are other centers. So there's spouse-centered, family-centered, work-centered, money-centered, possession-centered, pleasure-centered, all of these things. And security, guidance, wisdom, and power come from different things. And what I just shared with you is where it comes from and how it feels when it comes from being principle-centered. But for instance, if you're money-centered, your security and personal worth is determined by your net worth. You are guided by how to make profit. Your wisdom is prohibited through a money-making lens. And your power is restricted to what you can accomplish with the money that you have. Just for example. Now we're gonna get into my favorite habit, which is how we spend our time. This requires another diagram. Are you ready? It is on a little axis like this. For urgent, oh gosh, not urgent. And then important, not important. Okay, so what is not important and not urgent? Time wasters, such as social media, going outside to smoke a cigarette, smoking weed, drinking alcohol. I'm thinking of these compulsions that we have to distract us from doing what we should be doing. It's not important and it's not urgent. Video games, maybe something less intense. Gossip, drama. Number 3 here, not important and urgent, are interruptions. Text messages are what come to mind when I think of interruptions. I'm so bad at texting, and that's because I'm trying to get some stuff done or be over here, number 4, and not get stuff done, and there's people who want to talk to me. Other interruptions are getting hungry or needing to go to the bathroom, and people in general, they just interrupt you all the time. Cats interrupt me. I just had to go put him in my room because he was being disturbing for the video. Poor guy, I love him. Okay, so what is important and urgent? We'll go there next. That is emergencies and deadlines, like school and work stuff. Those are emergencies, you kind of got to handle that. So far, we have time wasters and interruptions. People who spend most of their time there feel like they are a victim to time, and they are irresponsible and dependent. People who spend most of their time in one, putting out fires, feel burnt out and stressed out all the time. And so some people make everything seem like this. I'm thinking of some narcissistic individuals. Not gonna name names or anything, but that makes life stressful. You gotta realize that some of what they're doing, making seems over here, is actually a time waster. It's just like drama, unnecessary drama. Okay, so where we want to spend our time to avoid burnout and avoid being a dependent, irresponsible human is in number 2, the not urgent, important space. This is self-growth, relationships, goal, dream work. I like that, dream work. Spending time here creates discipline, it creates balance, it creates vision and fulfillment, and provides you with energy to spend when things in number 1 do come up, when emergencies and fires happen. I really want you to make this diagram and consider what your life looks like in accordance to how you spend your time in these 4 dimensions. Wow, the words were really hard to get out to describe that last idea. Oh my god. A big hiccup in our journey to spending more time in 2, less time in 3 and 4 is learning how to say no and put boundaries around your needs. My battery's about to die. I don't think the lighting out here suits me, but it's okay. It's not what matters. You are not defined by the lighting you are in. just as. You're not defined by what other people think of you. Other people have light. They can either choose to embrace the lightness within them or the darkness. Okay, my battery died, so while it was charging, I did some yoga, which is not urgent, but important. And then I got stuck on social media for a little bit. But fun fact, I was tuning in with someone who inspired me to start YouTube because when I was transitioning into being a vegan, I got really connected with her and her videos, and then when I found adult child syndrome, I looked on YouTube to find someone who was talking about that, and I couldn't find barely anyone. I found Jody Lamb, and I met Jody Lamb. She is such a sweetheart. But anyways, I guess you'd call it a time waster, but it's also a big inspiration, so I wouldn't call it important, but it was important to get me where I am today. Anyways, put first things first was that last habit. The next is interdependence. So there is a maturity continuum, a spectrum, from being dependent on people to being independent, which is what society kind of says is the best thing, but really we can achieve much more if we work together. So interdependence is the ultimate goal. And also, what is life about if not relationships and connecting to people and making a contribution in the world? That doesn't happen just by, you know, being in your own little sphere all the time. The main thing I took away from this chapter is the concept of an emotional bank account. I think you have one within yourself. Are you making deposits or withdrawals from your energy center into your energy center? And there's also an emotional bank account between you and other people. So make sure you're making deposits rather than withdrawals. Examples of deposits are understanding the other person. This one we'll talk about more in a minute. Another deposit is do all the little things. So ask them how they are, compliment them, validate them without being prompted to. Clean up for them, give them gifts, send them a letter, send them a hello, just an emoji, sunshine, I don't know, do the little things. Keep your commitments, clarify expectations, show integrity, fidelity, and apologize for withdrawals sincerely. And love unconditionally. Don't be like, okay, you are allowed in my life and allowed all this validation and respect if you are a certain way. If you fit into this neat little box of who I say you're okay to be, how you are, that doesn't like make me upset. Love a person unconditionally. Accept them for all their flaws and expect that they will accept you and love you for all of yours. The next habit is think win-win. This is in a dyad relationship, just you and another person. It goes within you and your enemy, you know, you and your competition in business, in relationships and friendships. And this starts with understanding what a win means to you and having integrity and consistency involving seeking that out in your life. What counts as a win to you? What is harmonious with your innermost values? Do that. And then maturity is finding the balance between courage, getting what you want, standing up for what your values are, and consideration, allowing others to get what they want and what they value. Abundance mentality flows from personal worth and security, and it's when you're able to share wealth and recognition, and it opens a lot of doors. You don't have to be the only winner. It's not win-lose. Everyone can win. In applying this to relationships, keep in mind your circle of influence and the goal, which is a great, strong relationship. So begin with the end in mind, tying things together. In your relationship with another person, what do you want? We often make it a lot more complicated than it really is, which is to enjoy life together and have a nice, lasting, long, positive, significant relationship. I'm so excited. I wanted to like get really close to you for this last habit of highly effective people, which is to seek first to understand and then to be understood. I think this is especially applicable for those of us who grew up without this same respect being given to us. We weren't first understood. We were taught to first understand. Wait. Whoa, okay, so this might come really naturally to us. We have a tendency to rush in and fix things with good advice. But first, we ought to try to really understand the problem from the other person's point of view. Seek to not project our autobiography onto others. We're usually evaluating, probing, advising, or interpreting. Instead, practice empathic listening. Next to physical survival, our greatest need is psychological survival, to be understood, validated, and appreciated. Give that gift to other people by first understanding them before letting your ego go out and ruin things. Yeah. Okay, this is the point in the video where I've been talking by myself for too long and I'm getting a little goofy, so I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. I gotta go to work anyways. That was a lot to think about and digest, and I hope that you have so much actual fun experimenting, putting all of these habits and ideas into practice in your actual life. Grab a journal, write some thoughts down, and I'll talk to you soon. Have a swell, effective day. Ooh, and thank you, Stephen Covey. You are effective, effectively awesome. Peace.